right here, right?
Yes, thank you, Rob. First of all, thank you very much. I think you are the right therapeutic against the new entity, post-lunch malaise. Post-lunch malaise, because we all were suffering from post-lunch malaise. I open the questions to the floor. Yes.
Hi, so I'm Diana Vieira, psychologist, academic, researcher, and a patient. Betsy, thank you so much for your presentation. It was very clear, very objective, very easy to understand for a psychologist. Thank you.
It's working.
Just let me put my... I was wondering, at what time of the day do these tests are done? And I ask this because I feel myself that I'm different in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. That is one question. And then the other one is also, do you ask patients how tired they feel before each test or not?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, so remember, I'm post-absorptive too. I had that big chunk of cheese. And, so the first one is, for many years, we tested in the morning, and we still do. The worst time of day for you. So we've people have asked us to please do it in the afternoon, but I was restricted by the time I had clinic availability and also the people who test with me. And so we were locked into that schedule, but we're more flexible now, but we still do it in the morning because we know you're not at your best, but for a lot of reasons, we do it between 9 and 10. Our schedule varies depending on us too, but usually it's between 9 and 10, and you're with us for about an hour and a half. What I didn't mention was if you're doing this test protocol right, the actual time you exercise is should be about 8 to 12 minutes, more likely 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 5 to 8 minutes is the actual exercise time in reality. So it's not a long test. The prep stuff and the information we get is what lengthens the time. And the second question.
Do you ask patients
Oh, yeah.
how tired?
We have a symptom survey that we administer before, I think I mentioned, before they even come to us. And it's the CDC's 8 symptoms that somebody put up there yesterday, but we have a 9th symptom, and we used it for our NIH study. So it's very easy to fill out. There's certainly limitations to it. They fill it out before they ever come to us. They fill it out right before test 1, right before test 2, so after their PEM. And about 4 days later, we email it to them and they fill it out again. And what I will tell you is we published a paper on this in 2023 because during our NIH study, we were collecting that same symptom survey at those same intervals, but also for up to 10 days. Every second day for up to 10 days or longer until they felt they were back to their pretest baseline. And that image I put up there of the 2-day test was showing a little bit of the results of that study, which had the healthy controls, sedentary controls, recovering within less than 2 days on average, and the MEs recovering within 2 weeks on average. The variability for the healthy controls was 1 to 10 days based on their symptom reports. And for the MEs, it was 1 to 64 days based on their symptom report. But the average was 13 days. So.
Thank you. I have some questions from the online viewers, but I will start with one question from my own. How do you monitoring blood pressure during these 2 days? Because it is, yes, for you, Betsy.
Yeah, we don't use an automated cuff. We actually take the blood pressure ourselves throughout the test, every 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Every 2 minutes. So yes, at 30 watts, and we have a whole protocol for it. But the important thing that I was trying to bring out in this presentation was that if you only look at the resting blood pressure and the peak blood pressure, and you see that they get to a peak blood pressure that's consistent with their peak workload, and you say that's fine, then what you're missing is something really important that's happening in the middle. Because you saw the data with test 2, the systolic pressure never went up with that individual. But what we've been finding, and it's kind of turned into a joke in our clinic, is that the systolic pressure will stay flat for quite some time. And then all of a sudden, when the patient, we ask them the rating of perceived exertion, if you're familiar with that scale, when they tell us it's 14, we could have told them it was 14 because you'll see a jump in systolic pressure. So if I measure blood pressure first at that time point and I see it jump up all of a sudden, I know their RPE is going to be 14 or 15. And we've seen it over and over again.
And now some questions from our online viewers. How to evaluate your test, your 2 days test, if you have already started taking medication, like, for example, pyridoxytigmine and stimulants?
I get that question a lot, actually. And so what I explain to people is if you want a true measure of your baseline ability to use oxygen to produce energy to do work, and how your PEM affects it, then you should be off your meds, which I can't do. I'm not your doctor, but you should be off your meds. If you don't feel like you could complete the test protocol, stay on your meds. And I've had people do both. But you will get a medication-influenced test if you stay on your meds for the 2-day CPAP protocol. And if you're trying to get evidence of impairment, disability, then you would want to consider coming off your meds.
And another question from an online viewer. What does the neurocognitive assessment involve? In few words.
I don't do them, but I've had many patients tell me that the PEM is worse after a neurocognitive battery than after a 2-day test. So
I did the test. I did the neurocognitive test.
it's a test. It's a day-long battery.
It's
go
a
ahead.
whole day of neurocognitive testing around a variety of different dimensions, which also includes the inclusion of malingering scales to make sure that you're not faking the results. And so it looks at IQ function, the ability to multitask, short-term memory, and it starts in the morning. And then essentially as the day progresses, you are able to do less and less, and you eventually can barely
So
function.
complex.
It's like a 2-day CPAP in one.
Sorry?
I did the short version, the Portuguese version. I did the short version
For how long
like
does it
2
take?
hours or
2 hours, okay.
Yeah.
So more questions for Professor Betsy Keller?
Hi, I'm part of many MECFS groups on Facebook, and I share and I help. And one thing I see is on one of the American groups is that how difficult it is for them to get onto disability. And I will be posting the conference there. If they would come to you, what is the contact details, the website? Is this the website they can reach you for help?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. I also want to add, too, that post-exertional malaise can occur within hours of doing an exertional stressor or days. But we have, on occasion, had an individual who knows their pattern and said, you know, my worst post-exertional malaise is the 3rd day. So we have them stay over an extra night if they want to, even though we actually pick up abnormalities if we test them 24 hours later. So instead, if they want to stay, then we'll do them 48 hours later. But understanding your own PEM profile is important, I think.
And finally, one last question to Professor Rob Wüst. There is another question. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry.
I
So
just
sorry.
had one quick one for Betsy. Betsy, do any of your ventilatory or pulmonary gas exchange measurements inform mechanisms for breathlessness or dyspnea on exertion, something that a subset of patients with ME and long COVID have without any heart or lung disease?
If we looked at it, it probably would, but we don't have the resources to do that. I mean, we see hypocapnia. And so for disability, when I can report they're at 50 or 40% of age and sex predicted normal, that's about what I do. But I can't tell you anything mechanistic about it, though.
And a final question for Professor Rob Wüst. We talk about the inclusion of patients with long COVID, and I ask you about admission in ICU. Aren't you afraid that admission in ICU can make things a little bit different?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what happens, it's really distinction between diagnosis of long COVID and longer disease after an acute COVID infection. So if you are admitted to a hospital or ICU, we know that causes also longer term problems independent of long COVID. And all our patients that we include in our study are had a mild disease and never were admitted to hospital. But also we always check for whether they are positive on the PEM. They had to have physical PEM, and we do that with a DSQ PEM questionnaire. So we don't, and I think if you are only admitted to hospital in ICU after COVID infection, and it takes a long time to recover.
And other factors could be involved, probably.
Yeah, the other factors can be involved, but then you probably would be negative on the DSQ PEM questionnaire, essentially, or the cardinal symptom for long COVID.
So we are running 1 minute late, so we'll start block number 4.